Hey guys, Garth97 again. This time the review of Mobile Suit Gundam Side Stories, The Missing Link for PlayStation 3. And the big question we're all asking is it a good game? Not quite, and the problems immediately start off with the difficulty. The game is far too easy. Most of the missions are a complete breeze to play through, and to make matters worse, there's no difficulty selection. All of the missions are just one difficulty. And for all the story missions, you don't even get to select your mobile suit. You just have your team of 3 or 2 or 1 mobile suit, depending on the mission. Those are the ones you're going to start off with. And you can't select anything else. That's only an option available in the VR missions. So even in the story mode, you can't even raise a difficulty level yourself by selecting a Jim or a Zaku in a very difficult mission. And even that wouldn't make too much of an impact because of the controls, which are absolutely overpowered. One thing in particular about the controls is it's just your usual Gundam game. No real weird stuff going on. It's just your average thing. But the one thing that really makes this game different from a lot of the other Gundam games is this game has a dodge everything button. If you just have the X button once, you will boost in the direction that you're pointing with your left joystick. Just go in that direction. But if you double tap it, you do an evasive roll. Or some mobile suits will just do a sidestep if they are the bulky type of mobile suit. But even some of the bulky ones will actively do like a side roll. So that means that a mobile suit like the gun cannon is more nimble than most of the people living on the planet, which is absolutely hilarious. So if you do a double tap on the X button, you will do this evasive roll and it dodges absolutely everything. While you're doing the roll, nothing can hit you, absolutely nothing. And the timing on this couldn't have been easier. You can press this button all the way from when the projectile was fired to when it's about to hit you. If it's about to hit you and you double tap the X button, it will just clip right through you. No damage taken at all. Way too easy. And then other than that, you just have your standard fare. You have your, this time the lock-on button is here on your R1, and that is one of the most this has one of the most annoying lock-on systems ever. You can't toggle between all of the mobile suits that are on the screen. It just toggles between 2 or 3 at the same time. So I've had missions where you have to take out a certain target and I'm trying desperately to lock onto the target, but it just keeps toggling between 2 mobile suits or 2 other things I don't want to fire at. I simply couldn't target what I had to target. What was the target of the mission? And yes, you have your right joystick to adjust your vision, but even then, this is absolutely mind-blowing because you don't have any kind of free roam mode, and even if you go to the left or to the right, it's kind of sticky to your target. So first, it's like it has to rip away from the target, and then when you press target again, it's once again going to go to the same target. So it's absolutely, the target system is absolutely ridiculous. The other buttons are your standard fare for Gundam games. You have the square, which is your main weapon. You have the circle, which is your sub-weapon, which in some cases is much more powerful than your main weapon. You have the triangle, which is your fire, your sword attack. Then the other buttons, you have L1, which raises your shield and also serves to activate your special attacks. And this is entirely dependent on your mobile suit. Some machines will only have a special melee attack, while others will also have special fire attacks, like a giant charged sniper shot at one target or a multi-target chain fire. Then here L2 is going to send you up, whereas R2 is going to send you flying down. And now these controls are the same in all the control schemes are the same in both on both Earth and in space. The only difference is that in space you have a bit of inertia. If you fly to the left, you're still gonna strafe a bit to the left even after you stop moving. Not a lot, but it's cool that it's there. And also, R2, when you're playing on Earth, is just gonna send you back to the ground, whereas in space, R2 is gonna boost you down. So controls overall, pretty standard fare. They really should have fixed the lock-on, which is mind-bogglingly annoying, especially on missions where you have to take out a certain target, or when you're trying to take out a ship. The thing about ships is all of the weapons on the ship are individual targets, but taking out a weapon doesn't take away from the hull hit points. So you really have to hit a ship's hull in order to take it down. So you could be toggling between 3 of the weapons of the ship, so you're constantly flying around your ship, desperately trying to lock on to either the hull or the bridge of the ship, which will also take it out, but you just can't, which is absolutely annoying. And then we of course have the Uber, the super move, the everything dodging double tap X. But hey, easy doesn't always have to mean that it's bad. I mean, if the missions are engaging, fun to play, a lot of variety, look great, sound awesome, with some great enemies to fight, it could still be fantastic. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have any of that. First of all, the AI isn't the greatest, both on friendlies and on enemies. It's not uncommon to see mobile suits get absolutely stuck on either terrain, or if in one particular mission, I vividly remember that it was on some kind of construction that looked like an oil rig. So it's like in the water, you could move underneath the construction, but if one of your friendlies got stuck like underneath there, he just couldn't go up because apparently they didn't realize there was something above them. Or, like I said, they will just get stuck on objects like this. Yeah, not exactly great AI. Another problem is your friendly AI doesn't know what the mission objective is. This might sound like a trivial problem, but it can be extremely frustrating in some of the VR missions. 2 in particular. In one mission, you have waves of 3 mobile suits that fly in and you have to take out one specific mobile suit. When you're fighting against the Zeons, it is the Zaku 2 commander type, and if you're fighting against the Federation, I believe it was the gun cannon that you have to take out. You can't take out any of the other mobile suits for some reason, even though they're also enemies. But it took me a long time to figure out what was going on, because at first I thought, well, I'll just take them all out because I didn't read the mission properly. Then I saw you only take out Zaku 2 S, the commander type. So I do just that, and after I take him out, I get another game over. I try it again, another game over. I just think, well, then I'll play another mission. But in order to unlock more missions, you have to complete the mission. So I go to that mission again, I try it again, and I fail again. Again, a game over. So I try it once again, and suddenly I hear the combat coordinator say, that wasn't the target you were supposed to take out, at a point that I hadn't taken out any machines. Which was when I realized that my ridiculously stupid AI companions were taking out the wrong mobile suits that I couldn't take out for the mission. So what was causing my game over was my allies taking out mobile suits I wasn't supposed to take out. If your friendly AI is stupid, that is one thing. But if your stupid AI causes you a game over, that is unacceptable. The second mission in which this really showed was a covert mission. where you weren't supposed to be seen. And my fantastic allies just went Leroy Jenkins and charged right into the enemies. Once again, this took me a couple of tries before I figured out what was going on and why I kept getting the game over. And then I just thought back to that one mission where they kept screwing up, and I soon realized that once again this was a mission where you just had to deselect your allies and go in by yourself. Also, by that covert mission, the way, well, what they consider covert isn't really all that covert, because you can stand in plain sight of the enemy as long as you're not in their specific perimeter. So if you just, the entire mission was just keep away from the enemies. You can be seen as much as you want, but if you move in too close, then apparently they spot you. I figured this out because at one time I was standing behind a thick concrete wall, and on the other side there was an enemy. He couldn't see me at all, hadn't spotted me at all before, but just because his perimeter just was wide enough to go over the wall, I was spotted. Yeah, I was spotted. Whatever. Which leads me to the next problem with the missions. They're just too short. First of all, they take quite a while to set up. I mean, you have your story, your briefing that goes on beforehand, and then when you're playing the story missions, you get a little cutscene that plays out, and then you play your mission. So that in and of itself doesn't sound too bad. I mean, loading and your story, of course, have to happen, but the proportions in which this happens is completely wrong. Your amount of playtime is like a quarter of the time you spent loading, going through the story, going through the briefing. Almost 99% of the missions can be finished under 5 minutes. And that was not a figure of speech. Alrighty, let's check this out. 1 minute, not a bad start. 1 minute 13, ooh, 31 seconds, and it's still gonna get better. Minutes 42 seconds, 41, 4 minutes, that was quite a long mission. 1 minute 23, oh, 7:21. That was a mission I was literally trying to get as much fun out of as possible. And let's see, ooh, 26 seconds. Can we beat this time? Sure we can. See, 2 minutes, 8 seconds. I beat this mission in 8 seconds. That's what I'm talking about. You're just not gonna get a lot out of these missions. Like 3 minutes and then we get 30 seconds again. 59, you think they're getting longer, but then 19 seconds. So yeah, I really wanted to complete all of them. I tried, but after the 34th, I just couldn't. Like, here, one of the final ones, 83, 2 minutes, 82, 3 minutes, 81, 3 minutes as well. It's just, the missions are just not long enough. That also means that because mission times take so little time to complete, you actually get more cutscenes and loading than the actual time required to finish. So, 1 minute, 11 seconds. Let's start this up. So, first of all, we are treated to the briefing, which is beautifully not voiced and is just a block of text. I mean, fantastic. Just like reading a book, only from the screen of your computer, from your TV. Just keep going. Fortunately, you can skip this. But then, of course, you wouldn't get the story. So then, that is that. Who voice acting finally? What's also great is how the pictures aren't moving at all. Not even their mouths are moving. Not really showing any real type of emotion. Now we get Well, this is a single thing. We can go back to the briefing or we can launch, and then we get the question, are you sure you want to get started? Absolutely. Loading screen, and this is a time you just grab a manga, start reading, and well, let's flip through this. And oh look, even in the manga, operation times are much longer than in this game. Loading. And at this point, we're already well past the completion time for the mission. Almost. Now we get the cutscene, which is beautifully done. If only we saw some actual characters. That is the one big disappointment. You only get cutscenes with in-game graphics. So you just see them talking. And what the hell was he reloading? He reloaded his bullpup machine gun like the normal ground type machine gun. Well, graphics aren't too bad. They're pretty good on the mobile suits, but I don't think you really see the shadows, but shadows are oftentimes horribly pixelated. Just look at that shadow right there. Or, see if we can find our shadow. Some of the shadow like that one there, horribly pixelated. Look at those edges. That is abysmal. So the mobile suits in the game, okay, I'm gonna give it that, but look at that! It looks like it's a shadow from a Lego figure. Also, I think the preparation takes about 3 times the time for the actual mission. Black screen again. Oh well. Dodge. Dodge. You can't hit me. So with all of that going on, we'd better have a kick-ass story to justify us plowing through this game. And well, this is finally where the game starts delivering. The story is interesting. Now, it's nothing that's gonna blow your mind. It's nothing, well, on the Xeon side, it's nothing that you haven't seen before. It has all the typical elements you would expect from a Xeon side of the story. You start off all kicking ass, you're winning, everything is fantastic, you have a lot of hope, and then as the story progresses, you start realizing, oh shit, things aren't really going as well as we had planned. And one thing I really love about this game is all of the references it throws in there. We have a cameo by Johnny Raiden, a cameo made by Anna Elgato. Those were some awesome scenes that you're just fighting and suddenly you have Johnny Raiden showing up in one of the cutscenes, he's helping you out. And even Johnny Raiden's acknowledging, yeah, we fellow aces, we gotta stick together, that was an awesome moment. Or you have Anna Elgato coming to the rescue, which is also a really cool thing. You aren't the super ace of the game. Even in both the Federation and in the Xeon stories, you will have famous ace pilots coming to your help. In the Federation story, at one point you have to defend one of the land ships. You can't make it in time, but suddenly the Gundam shows up, Amuro in his Gundam, and takes out all the enemies. So that's once again one of those moments where your characters are like, whoa, that guy's a real ace. And in Xeon, you have that situation with Gato and with Johnny Raiden. Another really cool moment was, your guys are stuck in Odessa, and they see M'Quve taking off in the Zanzibar, and they're all like, you bastard! Like, M'Quve, that asshole, he's leaving us here to die. That was also like a really cool thing. You go through a lot of the famous moments. So, Xeon story was really sweet, but once again, you have all of your typical elements going in there. Of course, one of the apparently obligatory scenes is your squadron has to secure an HLV, and one of the characters, of course not going to spoil that, stays behind to guard the HLV. Something, something, something. So the typical scene where you have to somehow make it back into space really plays out well. And also a really cool thing in the beginning of the story, and this really immediately shows you that your characters are very diverse. They're not all the same, and they all work really well with each other in contrast. For example, in the beginning, you all remember Operation British. Well, you get to participate in Operation British and you get to kill millions of people. Well, you get to help in killing millions of people. And then you see the colony falling towards Earth, ready to kill millions of people. And two of your guys are like, Sieg Zeon! Sieg Zeon! Kill those Earth Noise! Like being typical Zeon droids. And then your main character's like, well, we had to do it, but it's not really something I like doing. And then your commander's like, well, do you have a problem with what just happened? And your main character's like, yeah, I had a, well, no, I didn't have a problem with it at all. Commander's like, well, I didn't like it either. Your main character's like, what? And he immediately says like, oh, move on guys, go, move on. That was a really cool scene. So, Zeon's story, pretty sweet. And also, when you move on, you unlock other stories, and one of the stories actually shows you who the pilot of the Afreed Knight from the Gundam Unicorn is. Really bring that missing link into the picture here, because you get to see how that character develops and then eventually becomes the pilot of the Afreed Knight. And the final cutscene is like all of those guys taking off, ready to go to Torrington Base. That was a really cool moment. So on the Zeon side, there are some definitely cool moments on there. The Federation story, on the other hand, I'm not too sure what to comment on that. First of all, when I was playing through it, this is of course a Japanese game, I had no idea what was going on. You start off fighting against Zaku's, and suddenly one of your guys kills a Type 61 main battle tank. I have no idea why he did that. Maybe he was pissed at the tank, but he just decided to go ahead and kill one of his allies in a cutscene. It's not like the stupid AI just made a mistake, it wasn't an actual cutscene. And later on, you will have more of those nonsensical moments where like, one mission you're fighting a Federation, the next mission you're fighting against Zaku's, you're fighting against Zeon, then you're once again fighting against the Federation, then you're fighting against the Federation and Zeon. It's like, wait, what side am I on again? And then you suddenly feel like it's been established that you're fighting against the Federation. And, well, at that moment I assumed, well, I guess my guys deserted to Zeon or something. When suddenly, they help the Federation again against the Zeon attack. It's like, they're just doing whatever the fuck they feel like. It's like, what's going on? Now, apparently, there is some more information about storyline. Apparently, your slave race guys were a penal battalion because there weren't enough pilots available. Let that sink in. The Federation apparently didn't have enough available pilots. Let that just sink in for a moment. And let's remember why the hell they made the ball in the first place. Because, you know, the balls weren't made because they had too many mobile suits and not enough pilots. The balls were made because they had too much pilots and not enough machines to put them in. That's a great setup for the story already. Like, we have to resort to hiring criminals, or for whatever other reason they got in the penal battalion. Maybe they deserted or they tried to flee from the battlefield. Who knows? So yeah, that sounds like a great idea first of all, and of course it goes horribly wrong because, well, they're just fighting against everyone apparently. And I just had a really difficult time really connecting with these people. Like, in the beginning you feel like, well, just like the Zeon side, you have a lot of different characters, so you kind of like them, but then you realize they don't really seem to know what the hell they're doing, and they're kind of fighting against everyone. And then suddenly there's a subplot where they're stealing gold, and you're like, cool, we're in the middle of this giant epic war, and they decide to just become criminals or something. I don't know. They were stealing gold, seems, and at that point I really stopped caring about the characters at all, because it just felt all kinds of wrong, and it didn't really feel like, well, they were relatable anymore. And on top of that, I have also read that even for the Japanese fans, or people who understood Japanese, that the story was kind of convoluted and it was going all over the place and you couldn't really follow. Also because, well, as I've shown before, the way the cutscenes play out, not really the most engaging fashion. But this game doesn't just have its own original story, it has the side stories. So when we turn it around, one of the big marketing things was you will get to play out some of the best Gundam games out there. We have the Blue Destiny, Rise from the Ashes, Zeonic Front, Lost War Chronicles, that side story from Gundam Encounter in Space, and Cross Dimension 0079. You will get to play these games in fantastic HD remastered. And I even remember that in one of the advertisements it was like, yeah, the controls will be customized and everything will that and this and that, and it's gonna be awesome and you're gonna want to play this game just to play these games in HD. No. No, 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 no. This was single-handedly one of the biggest disappointments of this set. First of all of the games play the same. I'm not sure if this was some kind of miscommunication or if they, during development, it was planned to make it more like an HD remake of these games and that they were actually planning to give them separate control setups, or if they just made the trailer so that it looked like they had different controls. But rest assured, they just took the story of these games and just put it on this exact engine. At no point do they make an effort to change the gameplay at all. And that is really bad for a number of reasons. For some games, the combat doesn't feel that different, like in a big way, but remember, this is more like a hack and slash action game where you just charge your enemy, you beat him up, you rip him to pieces, you just fly in there, guns blazing. But then when you look at some of the games, Rise from the Ashes, Zeonic Front. I mean, remember what the whole thing about Zeonic Front was? This is a slow, tactical, realistic game. Remember the gameplay? Remember this kind of gameplay? Press double X to do a barrel roll. So we have Zeonic Front with the action-based controls for this. If you love Zeonic Front, you're gonna feel really awkward playing this game, because suddenly Zeonic Front has become a no-brain action game where you press double X to win. So yeah, that was an immediate disappointment. So, and if that was everything, I guess we could still see the story in glorious HD. Well, like I said, we don't really, the cutscenes remain the same. You just have the mobile suit cutscenes with the text cutscenes. And on top of that, you might think, well, they're gonna give us a lot of extra content. Well, they only cherry-picked certain missions. Fantastic, so we're not even getting the full experience of the game. In Zeonic Front, from what I can remember, they took out some pretty important missions. Yeah, that's not the way to make a remake. Yeah, we're gonna take out everything important. You got that character in the middle of the game? Well, let's give it to you in the beginning of the game. Because we didn't care. You already gave us the money. Or some more fun things. This is specific for Zeonic Front and also Lost War Chronicles. You know how in these games you get to make your own team. Oh, well, you get to select which guys you want to use. Or in Lost War Chronicles, you get to choose which mobile suits you're going to use. Well, in this game, it's just the same as in the other story missions. You get your set of 3 mobile suits, and you're gonna launch with those 3 machines. You don't like those 3 machines, or you want to pick some other machines? Well, tough luck. Sucks to be you. Suck it up. You're gonna be launching with these 3 machines, and that's how you're gonna do it. You want to choose your own characters? Nah, go play Zeonic Front then. Go back to your PlayStation 2 and play that game, which is actually good, unlike this. Sorry. So, yeah, that's kind of like just a slap in the face. Like, yeah, we gave you a bit of the story. We gave you some extra content. Hope you guys like it. And, well, like Encounters in Space, gonna quickly bring that up again. Once again, remember how much content Encounters in Space had? Well, you're only gonna play the Thoroughbred mode from this game. Also, combat here was much faster paced than this. Targeting system also worked a hell of a lot better than in this game. And like I said, Encounters in Space in this game plays exactly the same as the Ionic Front plays in this game. One final disappointment I'm gonna bring up is the Blue Destiny side stories. Now, the one thing I loved about these games were the boss battles. They had some intense boss battles. Some super intense boss battles where you're constantly flying around, especially in the second one, when you're fighting the Ifrit Custom. That was an amazing boss battle. One of my favorite Gundam fights of all time. You had to watch so many things. You had to watch your engine temperature. You couldn't overheat. You had to see where you were dodging. You had to take your environment into account. You had to look out for everything. Which weapon am I going to use? Am I going to do close combat? Am I going to do long range combat? How am I going to do it? Well, in this game, it was very simple. How to win every boss battle in this game. Double X, fire. Move around. Oh, he's coming at me. Double X, fire. Move around a bit, boost, boost. Oh, he's going at me. Double X, fire. Oh, coming at me again. Fire. Double X, fire. Double X, fire. I mean, there's got to be something to read here. Double X, fire. Ooh, that guy looks kind of cool. Double X, fire. What else can we do? Fire. Ooh. What else do we have to do here? Double X, fire. Double X. Fire. Oh, special attack. Double X, do special, double X, do. Yeah, that is some really engaging gameplay, and that is how you win against any boss. Oh yeah, my excuse is you have to push it to his side. Double X, fire. Double X, fire. Double X. Ooh, oh, gotta mix it up here with another button. So yeah, for the remakes, you get to see those older mobile suits in glorious HD, but other than that, these remakes, if you're expecting to see Encounters in Space in HD, or yeah, maybe just the Blue Destiny, because these are some of the older games on here, if you expect to see this in glorious HD with the same kind of gameplay, forget it. And you know what's the worst part? It would have been much better to just have this game as an exact port than to play it on here, unfortunately. It is cool to see some of the pivotal moments played out with more modern graphics. Don't get me wrong. I did want to finish the games to just look at those cutscenes, but the gameplay was very disappointing, and the way the story was handled, and the way they just cut out missions. And if one of those missions happens to be one of your favorites, I mean, that sure happened to me, then, well, you're out of luck, because they couldn't be bothered putting out the full game on here, because, well, I guess that would also mean they would have to make new areas, which would take resources. Something not a lot of was put in this game, apparently. But hey, let's end it on a high note. At least the music was kick-ass. That's one thing I absolutely have to say. The music all throughout was gorgeous. Always fit to setting, and that is the one thing that really kind of gave it an edge, I guess. The music was always enjoyable to listen to. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Or would you want to play this? Well, for just the game, the retail price is 8,208 yen. A full retail price game. No. It's just not worth it. You could say, well, we're getting a lot of content, we're getting all of those different games, but no, it's just one single game. The campaigns can be finished really quickly, so all of those side stories, I mean, for each of the side stories, you can say like maximum half an hour. In half an hour, you're gonna finish each and every one of them. Then you have your missing links. I mean, in a couple of hours, you could breeze through all of the main missions. And then you have your VR missions, but really they don't add much of a variety at all. So for content, it's not as great as you might think. Above that, the combat system just feels it's too easy. The controls overall are pretty solid except for the lock-on button, but just because the game is so easy, you don't really get any sense of fulfillment. You beat the bosses, but you just felt like you wasted your time. Just you felt like you double tapped the X the entire time. So it doesn't really fulfill you. It's just not difficult. It's no challenge at all. So for that aspect alone, I would say it's probably not really worth your time unless you really want to see the story and you really want to see these games in better graphics, because this game for a PlayStation 3 definitely doesn't have great graphics, so we really have to use better graphics here. But overall, there are much better things you can do with your money. I mean, for the original retail price of 8,208 yen, what can we do? Well, you can buy yourself a used PlayStation 2 and put the remaining money towards the Ionic Front and Gundam Encounter in Space, and you're gonna have a much better time. Or you can go ahead and buy a Sega Saturn and buy the Blue Destiny games. Once again, you're gonna have a much better gaming experience. Or if you have your PlayStation 3, you don't want to buy anything else. Yes, I'm absolutely serious about this. I'm not kidding. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not being ironic. I'm not being stupid. Even though Target Insight had so many things wrong with it, you know what Target Insight did have? It had a challenge. It wasn't always fair. A lot of times it was frustrating. But I'm gonna be brutally honest. I felt like this game treated me like an idiot. Like someone who couldn't play games at all. I felt that this game considered me to be some kind of stupid baby who like just picked up a controller, and it was so easy to play through every mission. It just like, I beat another one. Yeah, moving on to the next one. Plow through that one, yeah. With occasionally a mission that was slightly more difficult. Like seriously, all the game overs I got was because I was just so bored and oh, suddenly there's a mission that actually requires a bit of reaction. Well, what do you know? So I think that I would honestly prefer to play Gundam Target Insight over Gundam Side Stories. And that is the sad conclusion of the game by itself. Can you get some enjoyment out of this? Yes, I would say that this is, I guess, a nice game to play if you come home from work or you come home from school, you're super tired, you don't feel like doing anything, and you just pop this in and you blaze through and you just plow through a couple of missions. That is a good use for this game if you really have a need for that. But mind you, you're gonna spend more time browsing through the story, loading it, than you're actually gonna spend playing this game. Well, that's all for the review of this game, and see you guys back for part 4 with the conclusion of the entire limited set. Also, one final thing I gotta mention is the cover art. That is definitely one of the highlights. See you next time.